Hey everyone, sorry for the long video here. At about the 7-minute mark you'll see a custom fiberglass fuse box cover that I made, and at minute 20 or so you actually see the dash, which I'm pretty proud of. I like the look of it, so if you want to jump around I completely understand. Thanks.
Alright, good morning. It's like 5:30 in the morning, middle of December here, and I think this is like video 6 maybe, long awaited. And I'm going to go over quite a few things today that I've been doing the last basically 6 months. So I got some notes here, let me see. I'm going to go kind of reverse order. I'm going to go over what we've been doing on the engine with my friend Sergio. And then the whole fire suppression system that I set up, the custom fuse box that I put in, all the stuff that I've done to the wiring, ton of stuff I've done with the wiring, cut things down, trimmed it up, done a lot of soldering, that kind of thing. Used a lot of bullet connectors, weather packs, cloth tape, and then I've got the gauge and cluster and switch panel that I've built. I've tested everything using my server power supply that's about 45 amps rather than connecting to the battery, because it's got a very sort of easily triggered not a fuse, it is a breaker. So, you know, when I short something, it just triggers the breaker. So, kind of got everything tested, and I'll kind of lead you through that next. And then after that, I'll actually put everything together so you can see it all together with the gauge and the I vinyled the dash and some of that stuff as well. Okay, so let's start with the engine. What do we do here? What we did was, this is a crate motor, right? With aluminum SVO heads. So it's from the early 2000s, I think. I found out the actual block is new. It's a Ford Performance GT40 motor. And what we did, Sergio came over, we took all of the rocker cover, all the tappets, all that sort of stuff out, oiled up everything, put the slimy, ultra slick, this stuff down in a lot of places, into the cam and all of that kind of stuff. Put a lot of oil down into turned it over, put a lot of oil into where the pistons are going up into the chambers, turn the motor over, that sort of thing, to get it all lubed up. But realized, because I've got this custom RV oil pan that is actually meant for a Daytona Mangusta, because that's what this motor was headed for, that the dipstick has to go through the timing cover. And the new timing cover I had did not have any, hole for that. So what I ended up doing was I'm going to use the old timing cover, and you can see here what I've done is drilled through and tapped with a 1/8 NPT thread and got that tricky looking dipstick, stainless braided, and then here's the actual dipstick. It's going to have to be cut down a bit, so I'm going to have to measure 6.5 quarts and that sort of thing, and then calibrate it down to 5.5 quarts, probably for min-max. Got the oil temp sender, that's a 1/2 inch MPT down to 1/8 reducer. Learned all about MPTs. Got the water temp up here, got the doohickey for the heating, the thermostatic controller here, oil pressure here, so all different senders. The valve covers on, I had to hog those down a bit to get them to fit around where the Webers are going to go on. We actually put the Webers on top of here and it looks fantastic. So, we got this, the manifold in, and that's all glued down with that black silicone-y stuff. So, made quite a lot of progress on the motor. Actually had all of the alternator, power steering, everything on there. And on my 4th attempt with buying a serpentine belt, I actually think I've got the right one, which is over here somewhere. Where'd that go? It's a 70, I think 71 and a half. But I had a 73 and a half, I had a 71, I had a 72, and I think a 71 and a half. That's it here. That is the Goldilocks. That is the perfect size. But then I've taken all that back off because I got to do the whole, put the front cover and all of that back on. Found a breather. Have to get a oil cap and the D size grommet. Learned about that yesterday. So that's the engine, right? Moving on over to, let's go through the electrical. So I've set up all of the lights, the signal lights and that kind of stuff, and using bullet connectors on those so that I can run them through the holes in the body, and got everything labeled. And I've had this all together and tested it, including the fan, cooling fan, tested all that, everything appears to work. So similarly at the back, looks like a bit of a mess down here, but brake lights, secondary brake light that I've spliced in, the license plate light, all of that sort of stuff. Had that wired into the rear harness. And so I've been testing all that. And then here is, like 3 months worth of work. Taken apart the Ron Francis harness, and redid things, trimmed a lot of things up, what they call it, dieting the harness. So basically, I got rid of the 2 weather pack connectors to the front harness and soldered that straight in. And then, this is a custom-made fiberglass box, basically, that I made out of fiberglass cloth and epoxy. I laid that over some pink construction foam. This stuff here, which I'm using for various things, but basically made a shape out of that fit here, and then made a fiberglass box, and then finished it with 3M filler, light filler, sprayed some Everlast feather fill, went through the whole process like I'm going to paint the car. And I used the paint that I'm going to use on the exterior. So this is actually the silver blue metallic paint I'm going to use on the outside of the car. And why did I do that, you might ask? Well, so with this, where these hydraulics are, if that leaks, right, it would drip straight in here. I didn't like that, so I decided that I was going to see if I could make a fiberglass box, and then I decided, well, I might as well see if I can finish fiberglass. And it came out pretty well. I learned quite a bit about spray painting. And as you can see, I did some additional aluminum onto the fuse box here, probably 3 pieces, so this is really solid. What else have I got going here? Oh, the brake bias control. Followed what Hank is doing in that I've got the, is it Triton? I think Tilton, I can't remember the name of it. This 90-degree deal here that comes off of the bias adjuster. I took off the main sort of threaded head and just used kind of the axle-y piece. Took apart this whole balancer thing, got the threaded rod out, cut a 1/4 inch of the thread off, and drilled into the center of the thread. And then there's actually a set screw that I drilled in around the other side. So when you turn the blue knob, it actually turns, and you can see, oh yeah, there's a set screw coming around there, right? If I turn it back the other way, it goes back the other way. So I will be able to adjust on the fly, the front rear bias. That's the whole idea here. And there is so little room, and lots of people have had trouble with how to do this. As you can see, I've managed to fit it in. Hopefully it will, keep working. Got the inertia switch in here. I put that in. I must have been drunk because it's at an angle, but so be it. You're not going to see it. Here's all the custom bracketry. I made these guys up to put the P-clips onto. I have welded in a piece of 3/4 steel behind here that drops down from the dash. So a piece of square steel that I've welded in there. I don't know if you can see it. Here is basically a gusset, piece of 12 gauge steel. The reason I did that is I want the pull cable for the fire suppression to go through that, so if I ever use that pull cable, I don't pull the whole dash off. And then this is an L bracket, or L-shaped piece of aluminum. So basically I've added a frame essentially for the whole dash that allows me then to rev nut, etc. In a very solid way. I've also used that to secure the head of the fire suppression down here. So probably very confusing, all of this, but you can see the head there. You can see one of the nozzles here that I made a bracket for. So this will spray out the Novec 1230 gas that comes from the Novec 1230 I think it's 10 pound tank. I can't remember. It's a biggish tank back here, right? Welded in a piece of 1 inch here with my Harbor Freight flux core welder. So I was pretty happy with that. So I could get all 4 bolts for this tank onto actual frame. And then that's got a 5/16 aluminum pipe that comes down through the tunnel. Had to bend all of that, and then it comes through. I brought it through. Okay, so yeah, the pipe comes down through the tunnel and comes out here, right? And then here is the head of the fire suppression, which has a thing in it, a vial kind of thing that at 200 degrees, it automatically sets off the gas to come out the 4 different nozzles, one of which is here. So, I made this little bracket. And then one of which comes up and it's in the engine bay here. There's another one on the other side in the engine bay. And then there's another one down, you can kind of see it here, in the passenger side. So, pretty much a nightmare getting all of that plumbed in, and along with all of this electrical stuff, which is kind of why I pulled everything apart to try to really get more order going here. I've, as you can see, rewrapped. I've cut and soldered a ton of wires. This is the display mirror that will go up here. I've soldered onto the back of switches and then run wires to a weather pack rather than try and plug onto the back of switches generally. This is my custom switch cluster, which is a piece of aluminum that I cut that is sprayed with body color and clear coat. So it's, the same color as the external of the outside of the car will be. So we've got the ignition, the electronic parking brake, the headlight, a USB power supply with a voltmeter in it, a little digital readout. It's kind of cool. AC switch, fan, the heater. So I took those out of the thing that comes from Factory 5 and put them in here. wiper switch. I took the wiper motor out and have tested that, and it works. The fan works. This is an extra switch if I ever need it. This is for hazard, I think, and this is for the cooling fan. It's a manual switch to turn the cooling fan on if I want to turn it on manually. So there's 3 ways that fan comes on. One is the trinary switch on the AC that will turn it on because of the condenser for the AC is up there, right? So, and then the thermostatic switch, if it hits 185 degrees or whatever the engine temperature is, that it will trigger the fan, or this. So there's 3 different ways of grounding that circuit. So it took me 2 weeks to get my head around, it's not sending power 3 different ways. It's grounding 3 different ways to complete that circuit. I've got, for the electronic parking brake, there's a whole sort of brain ECU back here for that. I followed their instructions to install an additional relay, a solid state Hello relay here, that I then connect to a 12-volt supply, but then it drives a red light in the middle of the dash. So I'll show that a little later in the video, so I can have a red light right in front of me. In addition to this, has a tricky little red circle on it, but that doesn't catch my eye as much as a red light right in front of me. Plus, I just wanted to see if I could get a relay to work, and was very happy when I did. Over here is another relay. Maybe you can see it, I'll come around. I decided I wanted to install a second fuse box because there were 3 inline 5-amp fuses that were buried basically down in a mess of wires down in here. And, if any one of them had gone, it would have been a nightmare. Take the dash off, find it, that kind of thing. So I said, okay, run a relay. It's a 40-60 amp relay that's powered off the radio power, so it's switched, and I don't have a radio, so that's basically an extra circuit. It's a 30 amp circuit, I think, and I've got the ability to have 6 5-amp fuses in this fuse box down here, right? I think 5 of them are in use. I'm running the parking brake, the USB, display mirror, and then I decided to run the heater and the wiper off of it because it's less wires than running east-west across the dashboard. I'm trying to kind of minimize the wiring going back and forth and keep things generally tidy. And that all works, pretty happy about it. And here's more of my custom bracketry for the dash. This is very solid, so the dash actually connects to this. There's riv nuts, so I can use machine screws and come through, and you'll see that in a bit. Here's the front of the dash. So, I put vinyl on it. It's a bit dusty. It's very simple. Here I decided to bring the AC through the front rather than the sides because I think I like that better. I've got the actual AC hoses here, but I'll put all of that in the next day or so and film that so you can see that. Running various the harnesses through. I've vinyled this centerpiece that's got sound deadening and heat deadening on it, and a lot of wires going down through it. Just started this morning P-clamping these harnesses, to go back down through the transmission tunnel and try and keep that very neat and tidy, keep it out of the way of the transmission. Got to finish that up, get it through the back, but getting pretty close to being done with all of the wiring. It's like 6 months of work. What else? So here's the nightmare. Here is all the leftover wiring and the various stuff I cut out of the harness. So it just gives me kind of a headache looking at that now. What else was I going to cover? I think that's kind of it. So, yeah. Oh, I removed the hot rod part of the wiring harness. I depinned that. That was quite a pain in the ass. But got pretty comfortable with reading the electrical diagrams and getting things to work. This is a ground terminal that kind of cleans things up to allow me to ground multiple things. And I think that's about it. So the next little segment will show all of this put together in a couple of days. Okay, welcome back to John's Garage on Monday, December 18th. Now I can show you what the gauge and interior looks like with everything pretty much installed. So let me turn this around so you can see. Okay, so here we go. Here's the sort of end results of, I don't know, 6 months of work or something stupid like that. You can see all the gauges in. This is painted body color. The display mirror is actually in. Obviously it's not where the mirror will go, but you can see that it's on. And there is a camera back here somewhere that's pointing backwards that will be installed, I think. We're probably going to put it up here somewhere on the body so I can see backwards. So yeah, most stuff is working. So the key is right now it's in the on position. If I turn it off, everything goes off. All right. So this is the headlight. You turn on here, you got side lights. I don't have light on the oil temperature. That was the add-in. I think there's a separate wire I need to connect to that. I've got most everything working. The hazards actually work. I think you can probably see them. The lights going on and off up there. Those will be in the headlights. And the lights at the back going on and off. There you can see the registration plate light back there too. So that's working. Turn signals are not working. They were working before, so something, I'm guessing, in one of the terminals in the connectors is not working now. I've obviously got an oil temperature that's way out of whack, so that's got to be calibrated. Got the fire, pull that needs to be connected up down here, but basically it's there. Headlight comes on here. Let me turn it. Okay, yeah, now we've got the power on. You see the GPS getting into acquiring mode. You can see voltage showing up on my USB. Hear the fan coming on. That's the AC on. Tricky little switch there that's got a light in it. Horn not connected because there is no horn installed. Not exactly the most powerful fan, but it does work. And here is the electronic parking brake. So you watch the voltage go down as I do this, because I've only got a 40 amp DC supply on here, but you can hear the power brakes, or the parking brake come on. You can see the little electric, the red indicates it's on. And here is the red light that I wired in with the additional relay. So I turn it off. You can see the voltage drop here and here, and it comes back. Do high beams work? Yep, a high beam switch works. So that's about it. I'm pretty happy with the look of this. There's a few blemishes, a few things that certainly could have done a bit better, but generally I think it looks pretty good. Not the easiest car to get in and out of. And I mean, I really like the look of the leather steering wheel. There will be a piece that goes over here to cover up those screws. So I got vinyl and whatever on there, that's sound and heat protectant. And yeah, so there we go, onwards and upwards. And that's it. Thank you.